Good morning. My name is Dr. Barbara Gressler, and I've been an instructional coordinator in public and private schools for the past 38 years. We have 3 objectives this morning for our work. Our first objective is to look at the key concepts of the new core standards for English, language arts, and literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects. Our second objective is to examine the language of the standards, model research-based strategies to engage students with text, and finally, we will share some ideas to take back to your classrooms. We have the goal of helping you to engage and support all of your students in interacting with content-rich, complex texts to prepare them for the next generation assessments and success in college and career. Common Goal pushes instructional practice to focus upon students interacting with content-rich, complex text and to build deep understanding by asking questions along with the development of tasks which require critical reading and for the student to provide textual evidence for their answers. Now let's do a quick survey of our audience this morning. Hold up 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers according to how you would rank yourself as far as your knowledge and understanding of Common Core. Okay, all right, I see lots of 1s, 2s, and a few 3s, and 2 4s. Great. We're going to get a lot of learning today. This is slide 4. In the Common Core state standards are the literacy in ELA and the content areas as well as for mathematics. The standards for science are currently in development, so we won't have them for this first 2014 assessment. There are 4 definitions that we need to hold on to as we get familiar with Common Core. The first one is that the standards are internationally benchmarked. They compare favorably with standards from high-performing educational systems around the world. They are grounded in research, which means that they are based both on the needs of colleges and workplaces and upon research about how kids learn. These standards are focused upon college and career readiness. This means that if the student makes a C to pass all of their classes, then that student would be ready for a college and a career. They are focused upon college and career expectations. They're K through 12, which means that the skills build upon the skill at the grade level previous, and then it's layered, and it is across all content areas. They are also clear, specific, and rigorous. They require the best, most demanding of skills and concept set of state standards. The rigorous foundation of the skills and concepts of these standards result in high yields of student learning. Finally, the standards are measured using next generation assessments, and we'll get to those later on. The core standards began with the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers. They met to form the Common Core State Standards Initiative, or CCSSI, and that was in September of 2009. In November of that same year, the ELA and math teams, which included teachers, professors, CUI experts, educational experts, organizations, and parents, all worked in November to form the college and career readiness standards and from the best standards from their states. That's where the research-based standards K through 12 came from. In June of 2010, the Common Core State Standards for ELA Literacy in History, Social Studies, science and technical subjects, and math were formed. Immediately they were shared with the public for comment. They were then revised, and the standards were sent to a validation committee. This committee was composed, again, of teachers, professors, administrators, and testing professionals. This committee reviewed the standards and endorsed them. Now we're en route to full implementation of the standards and their assessments in 2014. When you're thinking about these standards, you need to remember the big three. There are fewer standards, Let's start over. When you're thinking about these standards, you need to remember the big three. There are fewer standards. That's number one. You know that it is tough to teach all that we think that we need to teach. Now there will be fewer standards to teach, but they will be taught in greater depth. The second thing is that the standards are clearer. It was the intention of the creators of the standards to involve everyone in the educational process. Teachers, students, parents, and administrators would be able to understand the expectations for achievement. The standards were explicitly designed to set expectations and to raise the bar for all students. Those are our big three, and I'm so glad that each one of them was taken in consideration when this was created. The teams worked in three areas: math, ELA, and within ELA, content area, reading, and writing. The Common Core refers to this as literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects. We call it content literacy. When you check out the glossary in Appendix A, the core define technical subjects as technology, design, and business, in addition to the technical aspect of a broader field of study like art and music. In this slide, college refers to any 2 and 4 year post-secondary schools. Career is referring to jobs which offer competitive, livable salaries and that are with opportunities for advancement in a growing or sustainable industry. Now we come to the website, and I really want you to look at the bottom of the slide because the website is clearly written there. On this website, you'll find the standards in the areas of ELA and content area literacy. They're divided up in this way. ELA content area literacy, the standards are grade-specific standards through 8th grade. And then the separate bands of standards for grades 9, 10, and for grades 11 and 12. In grades K through 5, reading is divided into literature, informational text, and foundational skills of print concepts. And the last thing is phonological awareness. Cross-disciplinary content are reading and writing, and they're both built in those levels. At middle and high school, the foundational skills drop out. In content area literacy in history and social studies, science and technical subjects receive its own set of standards. Cross-disciplinary content are reading and writing, and these are built into those levels. At middle and high school, the foundational skills drop out. And content area literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects receive their own separate set of standards. There are 3 appendices that provide additional information, such as research behind the standards, sample texts in performance tasks, and sample student writing. This next slide shows images from those appendices. Be sure to note the URL for the standards. You can download the listed documents as well as access frequently asked questions. And there are plenty of other resources on their website also. In Appendix A, there is research supporting key elements of the Common Core State Standards. You can learn about text complexity, reading foundational skills, academic vocabulary, and the writing text types. It also has a glossary of important terms in the standards. In Appendix B, you have some very important exemplars, sample literacy, and informational texts that meet the standards criteria for complex text. There are also sample performance tasks for each grade level from K through 12. In Appendix C, you'll find clear examples of student argument, informative, explanatory, and narrative writing. You'll find writing exemplars for K through 12, including annotation that explains how the pieces meet the standards. Expectations for specific writing. This slide is a visual representation of the design of the ELA Content Area Literacy Standards. In the elementary grades, the ELA standards are subdivided into 4 main strands: reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and language. The reading strand has the standards for informational text, literacy text, and foundational skills including print concepts, phonics, and fluency. At the upper grades, there are specific ELA standards for reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and language. Also, there are separate content area standards for reading and writing. Foundational skills drop out in grades 6 through 12 for both ELA and content area. The next slide moves us into the actual standards. We have the strands on this slide include reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language. Each strand is organized around a set of college and career readiness anchor standards that are grouped into 2, 3, or 4 categories, depending upon the strand that it belongs to. The standards for ELA include additional standards for literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects for grades K through 12. This highlights another central idea in the Common Core State Standards, that all educators in a school have a shared responsibility for students' literacy development. And you and I both know that that's just critical for a student's success. The standards also place a strong emphasis on media and technology, but don't call them out separately. Instead, media and technology are integrated into the strands, like through the use of digital texts and online research. Okay, so now we've talked about all the things that are in the standards. What about the things that are not in the standards? The standards are simply an agreed upon set of expectations. They take what is best and most rigorous from state standards and apply it to all students. Each state, and within each state, each district, will determine how and in what time frame to build lessons and environments that makes it possible for students to achieve these goals. In addition, the standards lay out 85% of what should be covered. So, the state has the ability to add up to 15% of the content in their implementation. The Common Core State Standards clearly support the idea that teachers know their students best. The standards don't provide explicit support regarding how to help struggling readers and English language learners to meet the established criteria. So, I've mentioned the next generation assessments that are going to align with the Common Core standards. It's critical that we connect all of our teaching and instruction to the assessment at the end of the year. You'll also have data from formative assessments to inform your teaching throughout the year. So what are next generation assessments? 2 consortia of states, PARCC and Smarter Balanced, have banded together to develop assessments based on the Common Core state standards. Although they have worked independently, the consortia has similar plans. Each consortium plans to provide an end-of-the-year summative test in math and ELA. There will also be optional formative tests to inform instruction during the year. Instead of being mainly multiple choice or selected response, the test will involve a variety of question types, including constructive response, and technology-enhanced performance tasks, which may require sustained reading or outside research. The test will be designed to be taken on a computer for students in grades 3 through 8 and high school English, literacy, and math. PARCC plans to have an optional K through 2 formative performance task. These new tests, as I've said, will phase in during the beginning of the 2014 school year. There are 2 important websites that you need to examine and rely upon for support. The Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Career, or PARCC, and the second one is the site for the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. This afternoon, we'll discuss the next generation assessments more in depth. And most importantly, Scholastic has expertise and leadership in serving all students from the youngest grades up through high school and beyond, as well as working with instructional and organizational leaders to implement changes. One thing for sure, we're in here all together, and together we are stronger, and we can make the difference in children's lives. Thanks for your help this morning, and y'all have a good lunch.